I'm Mutation SMP, and welcome back to Passion SMP. Today, I want to attempt to finish all the paths. I don't know if we can, but I fully believe that we could. There's not actually too much left to do. I have a few areas left in the east that are just little things connecting over to houses. And then we have a little bit to connect up north, and then it's a straight shot south. So hopefully we can do all that and get it done. And because today is just a chill stream, I figured I'd start doing this and start adding this on. And this is a little low. I apologize for that. I must have bonked it at some point. Because this is a chill stream, I'm just gonna throw up chat with, chat words? I think that's what Streamlabs calls it. It's Wordle. It is just Wordle. So that's gonna be hanging up on this side of the screen. And I've tested it, it should work. It was being a little annoying because it wouldn't let me do what is clearly the correct word. Hello, Jazzy! Why is that also weird? That is funky. All the sound alerts things are just being extra silly, and I do not understand. This is what is, I shall deal. I need to properly write a note to fix that. I fix the browser alerts, because they've been a butthead. Or browser sources. Fix browser sources. Fix browser sources. There we go. Thank you for the lizard. Also, I've added a silly little mod to my Minecraft, and I think you're gonna immediately figure it out. So let's turn on the little words, so you can do that in the left-hand corner if you so desire. It's just exclamation point game, and then you can type in your starting word. It's a 5-letter word. So, when I'm playing on Passion SMP, as long as I have my OBS open, I'm usually open mic, unless for some reason I want to mute it because I'm singing to my heart's content, or I'm actually in a Discord call with other people, whatever. There are mods you can get for voice chat, and some of them are very cursed. So this is a repo head mod, if you can't tell. And I love him. It doesn't quite work with the way my head is laid out. Nice! It doesn't quite work with the way my head's laid out, but it's fine. Hi, Bookish, hello! Yes, I know, Twitch. I know I'm live. I am the one that is live. I am the one. Do not disturb. Thank you. Cranberries. Thank you. We have little word with friends. That's the wrong side. Words with friends on the side here. Words with friends? Chat words. Wordle. A lot of word games. There's chat words on the side if you would so like. But I've been doing bridges and paths across the server, and at this point, I'm committed to it simply for the sake of it, and also it's really nice when general people, when you have to transfer a bunch of items, because you can kind of carry stuff around, but it seriously weighs you down to do so, and you can sort of hack this by running around and doing it with a horse. I've done this in the past to bring a buttload of stone over to Misty and Airy. But that's a long way to go on a horse without paths. It's literally 2,000 blocks from my base to theirs. There are two groups of people on the SMP right now. We have a group of people that have gone 1,000 blocks west, a group of people that have gone 1,000 blocks east, and then a few discrepancies that have gone south or north. So, I have nearly... Can we not obliterate the sun? Can we obliterate the sun? It's too hot to exist today. Why would you want to get rid of the cookie? But yeah, it is. It is seriously hot. I usually enjoy sitting outside and just hanging out outside. I've been doing that lately. And I'm like, okay, I've gotten some stuff done. I've gotten things done early. I'm a little bit ahead. I need to get other stuff done today. Hello, Almond Milk. Almond Mink, pardon. I've gotten some stuff done today. Let me just go outside and exist for a bit, but it was too hot. I was out there for maybe half hour. I was out there for a half hour, and multiple times I'd come back inside for this thing or that. And I'm doing my Lingo Legend, my Japanese learning game, and I just feel my head fall out of my body, and I'm like, okay. Mayornet and Mop Poppin' server for whatever reason. Alright, X. You are more than welcome to come on and join in. Words. I've lost them. I felt my head just fall out of my body for a second. I completely lost focus of everything and all I was doing. I wanted to get more done yesterday. I was supposed to get a bunch of editing done yesterday. There's a double video this Wednesday because we started doing Cult of the Lamb Thursdays last week, and I really enjoyed that, so I wanted to supercut it for the second channel. And then we did our normal building challenge on Saturday, because it was Father's Day Sunday. We did our normal building challenge on Saturday, so that's being supercut. That's already up and scheduled. I now need to work on the Cult of the Lamb. And I was supposed to do all of that yesterday, but I was dehydrated as hell. It was over 90 degrees, and I had been running around grocery shopping all day, and at 7 p.m., after being awake over 12 hours, I wake up at 6 a.m. still. After being awake for over 12 hours, at 7 p.m., I realized I had drank 1 water bottle. So no wonder I couldn't focus. No wonder I felt tired the entire day. Yeah. So I immediately glugged down a water bottle, and I have been careful not to do the same shit today. Yeah, anything over 65 looks at me sideways and I start melting. I've been able to do pretty well, except for the fact our ice machine is still broken. I don't appreciate that. We have ice cube trays. I don't like them. They don't taste right. When you get used to drinking water all the time, there's a taste. You have the taste of your water, and you know what your water is. And anything else is just slightly to the left, and you hate it. This is slightly to the left. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can deal with it. Maybe if I literally just make the ice cubes out of the water from the fridge, that might help. Also, it's not like the ice machine, oh, it's just missing a part and we're waiting for it to show up. No, it's irrevocably broken. There is no reason. There's no reason for it to be broken. There's nothing that is actually wrong with it. It just won't work. We've unplugged and replugged the fridge. I don't know what to tell you. We've looked up everything. There's nothing wrong with it. We tried putting some ice in it. We're putting ice in it still because that's just easier than grabbing it out of the bag every time. And nothing fixes it. Nothing fixes it. School water tastes like shit. Absolutely fair. I was over at the Japanese market last week and it dawned on me, oh hey, there's a huge space. That's so far. I've gotten completely distracted. There are many paths I've been building. And for some reason, I committed to a 5-block wide path for 2,000 blocks. Why am I doing this by wings? I should do this with Nightmare. This is the entire reason why I have built these paths. I should use Nightmare for it. Currently, I already forgot about my stupid repo heads. Okay. It should work when other people are talking too, so my POV is just gonna be goddamn hilarious, and I love it. I'm slowly finding more and more cursed stuff that I absolutely enjoy. I need to actually sit down and see if I can enjoy some solo repos. Because I never really got into the game. I have it. I can play it. But currently with the paths, you can see where I've built them. It's connected for all the way from left space over mine through the mountain. I was careful this time. The first time I made these paths, there is wood paths, and I built them low enough in the mountain, I had to bridge 300 blocks across a cavern. I love it, but I'm too ADHD to focus on it. I've been enjoying some things every now and again, and I'm bouncing back and forth between a couple games. I was doing Oxygen Not Included for a little bit, because I got back into a spiel of that. And I'm like, you know what I really want to do, and what I'm enjoying of Oxygen Not Included is the farming scenario, because my brain hates automation, and Oxygen Not Included, you cannot get far in it without automation. Literally, one of the first tiers you can get is automation. It wants you to automate everything. That's the only way to keep the colonists happy. My brain does not like it. The only way I automate in Minecraft is by abusing the game mechanics. That is all of my farms. The most complicated thing I've made out of redstone is a hopper loader. Or not a hopper loader, a hopper drop-off. Which is a comparator, a repeater, and a redstone torch. That is it. And I still have a screenshot of that on my computer that I refuse to remove of the thumbnail of a tutorial so I can go back to it and revisit it. Factories with obscene steam engines. Oh, right! After Oxygen Not Included, I just really like the farming part of it, so I've gotten back into Stardew. And I'm very happy. I immediately went through all my minecarts and everything. Point is, I'm over here because me and Axe's bases are the ones that are connected up right now, and Lup's. I'm going to send a screenshot to the Discord just to wait. Oh dear. I still need to connect up on the west area. Axo domain is Lilac, and Lilac's still connected to the old system. I have built the entire tunnel to connect up Lilac, as well as up here. They never claim chunks. Wolfie, aka Ellie Grace, is up there. I think Ellie's streaming right now, actually. I think they're streaming Dead by Daylight, if they still are. That's so real. I have a Redstone Minecraft tutorial book that I've had since I was wee lass, and I've never read it. I think I know. Ooh. Where are you? Would it by chance happen to be this one? Would it by chance? There we go. Would it by chance happen to be this one? I have all of them. There are new ones for the newer versions. There's like 8 or so of them. I want to get them one day. That's a nice thing of having my bookshelf right here. I could just grab. The OG are so better. We have both. Ooh, nice. I really need to get them. I had all 8 OG and new. Ooh. Why horse brief? Why is there a skelly? Oh, it's up here. I need to sacrifice those. My idea for this week is just kind of server lore for the episode. I haven't started on a single thing. It is Tuesday night, and I haven't started on a single thing for this week's episode, because Monday, shopping, and dehydrated, and I couldn't work on anything. And then today, I was editing all day. And then I came over and streamed. And then I had a little time to myself so I can get some reading done, and get my damn language lessons done. It's a lot. Also, the words is a BS thing. I need to find. I'm gonna write that down too. Write that down. Write that down. I need to find a better words or Wordle thing. I'm hoping if I literally type in like Twitch Wordle, I can find a better one. Cause the Streamlabs one. There, let me do Streamlabs one. Not the best. It doesn't like to recognize that you type in half the stuff you do. So I'm gonna, new Wordle. New Twitch Wordle. There we go. New Twitch Wordle. 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 And, oh, lovely water. So this is where I've dropped off the tunnel. If I come over here just a little bit, you can see where the old tunnel is. So I'm hoping I can literally just connect this to here and extend it all the way, and it'd be a direct shot to Ellie's. Oh, now it got craft. I guess you just can't capitalize it then. I don't know. It's a butthead. And we can also, from this point, I'm gonna trade out all the wood and do a straight shot to the axolotl down there and to Lilac's base. But I actually have hardly any materials. This looks like a lot of materials. Trust me, it is not. Ideally, I want this backpack completely full, and even then, we're gonna have to come back at least twice or at least one more time to finish this area. Definitely at least 3 or 4 more times refill that backpack in order to do all the paths. Ideally, that's what I want to do tonight. I have 0 other plans tonight. This is all we're gonna do. Check media. Mwahaha. Where is the factory? Factory. Ooh. This is why you gotta join. Oh, my camera is not here. Why did I think my camera was here? This is why you gotta join the Discord. Nice factory. I've been meaning to get create. I want to just sit down and burn my brain into learning every little piece of it until I understand it. But that's not something I've had time for. It's been a wandering wish. It's been a whim. No, I did it off time, and you have to wait until it says chat's turn. You can't do it when it says restarting, or it won't take it. I uncapped so stream wouldn't call it spamming. Ah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Where did I get string from? Okay, I guess. I guess it was just sitting. I don't know. I don't know. Boink. Cookie! But yeah, this is in large part what we're gonna attempt to do. Honestly, you know what? I don't even need to worry about the blocks right now. It's gonna be far more helpful to me to purely focus on digging it out right now. Ideally, I want to dig everything out and get that out of the way, which also gives me the resources to do this, because a lot of the time I end up hitting stone from this thing or that thing. So it gives me extra resources to actually make all of this. That's better to know. I do not want that. Where? What? Okay, Jackrabbit. What are we doing here? Thank you. Where was I? Where be? Among Us? I need to get a proper Stardew bar swapper. I've been playing way too much Stardew and now I miss the inventory. Where am? Cheetah Where? I'm on the wrong area of the mountain. That is why. I should have known when I couldn't see the water. The generated material so far is wild after Only Awake. Ooh. I need to go check on the iron farm again. We were almost reaching 7,000 over there. I added something that was not in the video. I added this the other night, and I don't know why I was possessed to do such a thing. But I love him. For those who haven't got a chance to see Sunday's video, I wanted to make a cat cafe / cat house. That is what the tiny little room that's been added onto my house is. It's just a little adorable space for cats. You ever seen that popular clip where they like go and explore somebody's house and it's been entirely redesigned for their cats and they have catwalks everywhere? They have a cute little like shark themed doorway for them so it scratches them as they go in and out, and it's super damn cute. And they just have catwalks everywhere, little hammocks for them. It's so adorable. It's so cute. I love it. Lives rent-free in my mind. I attempted to do something similar. And thanks to some other mods we have, I was actually able to get some things really close, if not actually having the intended mods for it. I love using mods in unconventional ways. Like, we have gardener's plots. So if I come outside, you can see we have these little half composters. And there's coarse dirt in there, and then there's you can put a little leaf block on top, and then I put an extra leaf so it looks like a cute little spruce. Well, you can put a lot of different blocks in that, including packed mud, so it looks like a bunch of kibble. And then these are just in the floor water bowls. They're just cauldrons, normal cauldrons in the ground. And I also did it with gravel and composters to look like little kitty boxes. So they all exist very happily. And then I have some interesting... I have little cat beds. I attempted at hammocks a tiny bit. And this was my trial run of everything, because the port is a hella far away, and I didn't want to have to be running back and forth for different stuff, and I was running back and forth for different stuff for this build. But funny enough, the cat cafe I made is actually smaller than this, and I have since now added a bartender. And I will not be taking name suggestions, because you cannot get a better name than Fred's. And Fred is just a nickname. Just a lovely little nickname for him. We run all the way over. Thank you, Nightbot, for spamming my goddamn chat. Also, I can't rename the waystones anymore. I don't know. I can't rename the warpstones anymore. I don't know what the fuck happened. I probably just need to update the mods or something. I don't know. I don't understand. Are we at 7,000 yet? Yes! That's 7,000. I think that's a bit more than 7,000. We're almost at 1,000 blocks of iron. Chat, have I made this too functional? Oh, it's over full. I need to add extensions to this because it's too full. I need to get on that. Oh well. But here's our cute little tavern. I wanted something slightly different from what we were doing. It's still the darker color. It's still in theme. I tried to avoid spruce. I wasn't successful. But it's a little bit different blocks. And I'm at 26.1k. In all fairness, I have not AFK'd this farm. This farm has not been AFK'd at all. Maybe total, I have been here for about 6 or 7 hours from building, and just building around the area. I've not actually sat down to AFK it one bit. This is a quadruple iron farm that's about as efficient as you can make it. Neither of you. How long have you been around the thing? This is as efficient of an iron farm as I can make without nether portals. But I wanted to build a little tavern. I'm slowly building things around here. I want to move villagers over here. And because there are so many villagers here, there are 12 villagers, and that's more than enough for the game to go, yep, that's a normal village. We're going to start spawning cats. So I'm like, you know what? I have extra cats from making my creeper barn. My creeper farm, which is a creeper barn. So I might as well make a cat cafe. But that doesn't fit in with the vibes of this ship port. I still need to make the submarine fit into the vibes of everything else, and somehow make that fit as well. We'll figure it out. So I'm like, okay, cat cafe. We're gonna go for cat tavern. And now we have this cute little thing. I don't have a lot of cats in here. We're gonna slowly add more cats. But I decided to add our lovely bartender, Alfredo Bobito Fifi Fofito III. Or Fred. And I love him very dearly. I don't know what possessed me. I was outside, enjoying my life, sitting in my hammock, umbrella over me because I realized I was being a butthead. And oh, you got it! Nice! I realized I was being a butthead when I was trying to sit in my hammock because I was burning my eyes reading my pale-ass book, and it was reflecting reading my... It was burning the hell out of my eyes, and I spent like 20-30 minutes looking around trying to see if I had a hat or something so I could get the damn sun out of my eyes. Every time I'd be out there, I'd have my hood over my head. And then I remembered the umbrella that was sitting a foot away from me. So I just opened the goddamn umbrella. But I was sitting there, enjoying my hammock. And I like to have a good at least 10 minutes every day, first in the morning, first in the afternoon, before or after dinner, and just sit and let my brain think itself out. And for some reason, I wanted to start going around doing little small pranks with the server. And I really, really wanted to name an animal. Alfredo Bobito Fifi Fofito III. And I love him. I have a sticky note with the alphabet. I was infested. Nice. You should join in on the Wordle over on the Discord. What was today? I think I remember what today was. I'm not sure. Did I? I don't think this has been on stream yet. I did fix the spider farm. The spider farm looked like a piece of shit. It was a weird cone with a rounded bottom. I don't know what... It was a flask. It was a really horrid flask. I wanted it to be a teardrop. So, I had to end up using Album? Axiom. Somehow I can try to combine Axiom and Voxy, and I ended up with Album, and I don't know how we got there. But, with Axiom, I ended up figuring out a shape I liked, and now we have a decently working spider farm. Thanks to our lovely mods that let me move around spawners and increase a bunch of things on them. So, we have a pot of spider and spiders too. And that should be working now. Yep. I did steal a bunch of string from it. I did steal several stacks. How's the I've been hanging around the cactus farm. Last I knew it was around 256. How are we now? 314. Not bad. Not bad at all. I still hate how Macaws has done what Macaws has done. Because that's not how the game works. I don't think that's how the game works. Anyway. I did officially move the port boat. It was originally over here. It's been over here for a long ass time. But then I can't build anything nearby because I can't build anything nearby the submarine unless I want to spawn-proof it because I have to deal with the Enderman spawns. And Endermen have a huge area that they can teleport to, and here is the area. I literally added this one because it actually ends up working with it, and it's a decent barrier to kind of show where you're not supposed to build, or if you build in this area, you do have to spawn-proof it. And two, it also fits in with the nautical theme. And are the turtles all doing fine? Are the turtles shambling about? We good? We all good with the farms over here? Because I'm definitely not procrastinating working on the paths. Half hour into stream. That's fine. I still have more stuff I need to add over here. I haven't done anything with this lower part. I'm thinking it's probably gonna end up being storage, something like that. Just fake storage or actual storage, backup storage for farms. Or I might move all farm storage over to that. Aside from the iron farm, because I really like having it right there. Anyway, all that aside, we have met Alfredo Babito Fifi Fojito the third, and I have fallen into the water in Lego City. Let me move right along. I should remake my skin so this actually looks better. I should really do that. It's gonna be on my list. We're gonna add to my list yet again. I do kind of want to make smaller eyes too. I've been messing around with that idea for Mew skin for a bit. Fix Mew skin. Oh, I do have another skin that's coming up. I'm debating whether I want to make a skin specifically for Passion SMP, but I just kind of like mine. But there is another SMP I'm joining. It should be starting up soon. I believe they're... Do they have? I believe they have. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure they've officially put out a video. Is it announcements? Yes, it is. Okay. Let me, give me that link. Ah! Please. There we go. Just copy the link. Copy the link. There we go. Please. Thank you. If you want to check out the SMP I'm going to be in, Royal Realms, there's the little video for it. They did a nice little promotional video for Season 2 that I'm going to be a part of. It's a themed SMP, and I'm going to be building a magical fantasy. That's what I'm doing. So, I want to do a lot of runes. That is my current idea. What am I doing? I'm grabbing a bed. That's what I need to do. I want to build in a lot of magical runes. I want to be having fun with that and moving around with that. And... what was the other things? I said other things to describe this. What were the words that I had used? Because if I'm just gonna copy-paste myself. Wizards and dragons, fairies with a lot of runes. And I have a skin made up for this and a little lore idea. So let's see if I can flex my writing skills and have a lot of fun with that. I'm really excited for it, genuinely. Also, I have specific rules I've been following with the paths that are fairly easy once you start to understand what the hell I'm doing. Basically, at all costs, I keep the path one block lower, or at the same level of everything else. Sometimes this means I have to do really funky areas, other times it means I'm terraforming a giant space. It is what it is, I'm gonna work with it the best I can. Like, fun areas like this, where I'm not sure how I should go about. You know, we're gonna go a straight staircase down, and then go through the mountain a little bit to here. Or just cut off the mountain, probably, and then terraform after. I feel like that's gonna be the best. But I do absolutely want to do a lot of lore and fun with Royal Realms. Oh, right. Like, the music's a little loud for me. What can I do about that? Right, I need to turn down my own computer volume, because that doesn't affect you guys. That's how I need to solve the problems that I have. It's a very easy solution, actually. Where? How? What? Oh, yes. This is another one of those situations. I think I just need to plow through, and we're gonna see what I end up doing with the rules I have installed. Thank you, Nightbot. And from there, we will attempt meander. Oh, I just realized I should have pestered my mobs. Mobs? My mods. Wardens! Who knows if Pumpkin's working, but hopefully. Get the wardens in here. See if I can get Pumpkin. We're just gonna... Do I need to plow, literally? Do I need to bulldoze this entire area? Yes, I do. You suck. Oh, almost. Almost there. And I'm almost not building. What? Where are you? Ah, there you are. I love and hate the little Among Us zombies, but it makes it really easy for me to tell when I have a mob problem, because I just have the stupid Among Us guy in my ear. So, it's helpful, it's annoying, but it is in fact helpful. Kind of. Kind of. Speaking of kind of helpful, actually, it's insanely helpful, it's been a really fun read. I got a book recently called Humor Seriously, and it is genuinely so fun, and it hits like the perfect areas of my brain that I love, and it hits all the right things. For me, personally, this is definitely not a book for everyone, but I adore it. It is two people from completely different backgrounds that came together to write this book about humor, because via their different workspaces, they came together and started realizing, hey, humor actually may help out with some of this, and it's actually kind of a good thing to have in general. And they went full scientist mode on this to try and help with it. One of the people is like, they help out investors. I can't remember the correct term, but their clients are investors, like top 50 investors, not even 500, top 50 investors. But they've been going to like a different, words. They've been going to different, like, comedy clubs at night, and then during the day they do their normal frickin' job. I'm cooking. Ooh. I'm getting very good at, chat words. It's not gonna be here every stream, but if we're doing chill streams like this, which most of the time we are, I'll definitely have it up. Just to vibe and hang out with. Throw all these stuff in that I do not need, because I do not need them at the moment. I should grab Bonkus! Bonkus would be extremely helpful. I have a pad of sticky notes. You might as well grab a notebook. Little note app. Something to that nature. Oh yeah, Humor Seriously. One person works for like top 50 companies, or top 50 stocks, and helps them out and all that. And the other is a scientist who is actually curious on like the actual, if you were to like calculate humor, how would that go about, and trying to figure out the actual science behind it. And they came together by pure accident, pretty much, if I remember the book correctly, and started working on this together. And it goes through some of the actual, like, rules behind humor, which is mainly just a surprise effect. It's not what you expect it to be. Like the childish joke, A, B, stung me. It's just a little surprising, it's not what you expect. Or the much more true example, a lot of jokes have a nice amount of truth behind them, or a little, like, grain nugget of truth, is, oh yeah, sorry I'm late, I didn't want to come. A little bit of truth makes a joke land, and it goes through a lot of the different ways such and such land, and what a different humor style could be. And what I'm trying to get at here is, if you want, you can go to humorseriously.com and take a quiz to find your humor style, with such lovely names as the comedian, and the sweetheart. And I'm trying to remember the others, and I'm failing. What were the other ones? I'm trying to follow this story, but my memory has failed. I need to upgrade the RAM, clearly. How long ago did I send this? Hopefully not too long ago. What? Okay. Okay. Yep. Yep. What? I know I sent it recently. Where did it go? Oh, because I was working off data and never sent the screenshot. I should have just gone to my screenshots. That would have been a surefire way to find the damn thing. Ah, yeah, okay, I already fucked it up. Because the labels are stand-up, magnet, sweetheart, and sniper. And they all have their own little tiny classifications, and it's nice. It's just a cool, fun little thing. And I think it's so awesome, the amount of love and attention that went into this. And reading it is a goddamn delight, because it is also filled with absolute comedy every step of the way. Because in themselves trying to, like, figure this out, they started doing a ridiculous amount of stand-up comedy themselves and going to the professionals and being taught by their mentors. It's so cool to see and look at. It's so freaking cool to me. Hello, chicken. I forgot I have done that to you. Yeah. I mean, technically you're normal. I don't think that movement was quite normal, though. Little exorcist. Just a tiny bit. Yeah, doink. When did that get in my offhand? Where else I am, here is what was. Slam poetry. But the book is a goddamn delight. I am adoring it. Most of the books, when I go through, like, the fiction section and I'm, like, trying to figure out specific things I want, I end up skimming through the thing for whatever I want, or I skim through the entire read, because this isn't a rule of thumb for a lot of books, but I feel like it almost always applies to every single non-fiction book you come across. If the book is longer than, like, 200, 300 pages, it doesn't need to be, and it probably over-explains what it's trying to tell you for several pages before you actually get a goddamn answer. A few of them do that, but most of the time, if you're looking through nonfiction books, the shorter the better. You do not need a bunch of flowery words to explain A plus B equals C. You do not need to explain that B is X plus X. You do not need to explain A is Y plus Y. A plus B equals C. We know this. You do not have to over-explain and explain that it also could be B plus A. We know. We know. It is that simple. But somehow it isn't. And this is something I've seen consistently across the genre. I rarely have been getting fiction books from my library. I mostly grab from nonfiction at this point. Generally, right now, I've been enjoying going through kind of almost commentary-like. I've been loving going through the writing section. Specifically, because every now and again, most of them is like, oh, how to write essays for students, or here's how you get a bestseller. But every now and again, you find a little nugget. You find a little diamond in the rough. That's just an author writing about their experiences, and a lot of the times it's authors and how they bounce back through the dreariness of lockdown and trying to get themselves writing, and they had such trouble writing. One of the ones I read recently was called 1,000 Words, because in the middle of COVID, they just wanted to get writing again. They were trying to force themselves to write, they were trying to do everything, and they came together with a friend, and they were like, You know, one of our friends recently did an insane workout, absolutely crazy, to just get themselves to doing it. And they would do like 2-3 miles running every single day. Is there something like that we can do? And they started writing 1,000 words every single day. And it started spreading and catching fire as a trend. And it's still continuing as far as I'm aware. It's 1,000 words a summer to be considerate of the teachers that also do this. And be considerate of people's general lifestyles, teachers and students. And the book itself, every week they have a newsletter for this little challenge. And the book itself is a collection of tips and tricks and general notes that they've gotten from far and wide for the newsletter, as well as anecdotes from the actual person who started this. And it's so cool to see different points of view and how everybody attaches and starts getting into writing for one way or another. Sometimes it's heavy fiction just purely for yourself, and other times it's just sitting down and getting out some poetry. Wherever you start writing, that's cool. This rounds me back to another one. I deeply care about writing, if you cannot tell. And there's a video I saw a while back. I keep multiple YouTube accounts at this point because my personal YouTube account For You page does not fucking work. It does not. I have ranted about this so many times on stream, there's no fucking way for me to fix it. I have outright completely deleted my entire watch history and it did not fix a goddamn thing. I have been liking every video I watched so far that I want to have on my For You page, which is pretty much just entirely Markiplier at this point, and it does not fucking know what I want. All it has to do is give me the same Markiplier videos I've already watched. And if there's another channel I follow that has something new, put it on the For You page. That's literally all I want, but I can't fucking do that. So I now have a playlist called The Shuffle. So when I want to watch something, and I don't know what to watch, I click Shuffle on The Shuffle. It is currently at 179 videos, 98% of which are Markiplier. Usually just his random bullshit. That's so real. I got Instagram and I never use it because For You page sucks. Absolutely. It's always... I haven't logged into YouTube a lot today. I've been slowly going through my watch later, because in trying to add to the shuffle, I went down a rabbit hole of pretty much the mass majority of the scary games that Mark has played. By far a large amount of them, and I just slowly added them onto my watch later as I went through each of them until I had like a watch later of almost 50 plus videos. I'm like, I need to start actually not adding to this because half of these I don't want to watch at this point, and there are some I really want to watch. And now it's been like a week and the videos from the other people I subscribe to are starting to pile up, and I have like 5 hours worth of content from one creator because they've been playing Mecha Chameleon and they did a D&D session. So there's a couple hours from that. I completely forgot I had boba. I don't want to call it homemade. My hands made it. My hands put together 2 packets and added water. This is like a drink mix. It's just a refresher drink mix or something. And then pre-made boba. It's good though. And strawberry raspberry. And strawberry poppin' boba. Good stuff. It's just barely hitting that tart and sour. Anyway, my For You page is fucking broken. And it does not work. And I opened it like twice today for something or other because I was going back and forth between accounts so I could schedule the video that's going up Wednesday, tomorrow, for Mutation CIP. And my personal account's For You page was literally 2 rows of shorts and that's it. That's how broken it is. That's all it gave me. And it wouldn't even let me say not interested in the second row of shorts. It would not let me do anything. Not a single one of those goddamn shorts I would watch. I do not have any shorts in my watch history. I don't know what the fuck it's doing. I've had this same YouTube account almost as long as the Minecraft. Same here for this one. I think because I've been liking every video I've come across in order to fix my For You page. Currently, my liked videos have gone up. It was sitting at like a stable 2,000, 3,000 There are a couple series I would like in full, but most of the time it was a rare thing if I actually did like a video. But now it's sitting at like 5,000. That was so casually. Just so casually. But point is, I also actually use the Mutation CIP account to watch stuff, and generally I end up on documentaries and commentaries. And one of the ones I found early on into doing this, and like sitting down every now and again to just enjoy some commentary, because usually I'm watching gaming content, and that's about it. That's all I do. So it's nice to have it be switched up a little bit. And one of the videos I came across was why you should do creative writing. And why you should be writing. Because it points out this very thing that a lot of people assume is creative writing has to be a story. You should start writing fiction, I think or nonfiction, is the thing I think it was. And people assume it has to be essays. People assume creative writing has to be stories. People assume nonfiction has to be essays. That is not it. Nonfiction can literally be a journal of what you did today. It can be literally anything you want it to be. And it is a great thing to do for yourself. The more and more I write, I find myself to be far more articulate. And the better I get about it, the better I can actually articulate and express the opinions I am attempting to express here. It doesn't mean I have all my ducks in a row, what plotline does. Except a few people who have their shit together, but I don't think even Tolkien had a proper plotline going on instead. Sometimes you just gotta make shit up and act like you had the answer all along. Anyway, my writing griefs aside, sitting down and writing literally anything is just genuinely so good for you, especially in a time where we have hella convenience and doom scrolling. It is such a good thing to have the habit of, even if it's literally just like a random ratty-ass notebook or a spare piece of paper. Or hell, your notes app. Even your drawing software, if you just want to write into a text box in your drawing software, go for it. Writing is such a good thing that is so genuinely healthy for your brain, especially if you find one that you seriously enjoy. Absolutely. It's such a good thing to do for yourself. Well, what's happened to my wings? What? Why did it... We've been streaming for almost an hour. Why did it take me... What? Let me take off my helmet. What has it done here? It didn't take off my helmet. I do not have a helmet on, game. Game, I do not have a helmet on. I don't... Did it move the layer back by... I think it moved the layer back by accident. I think that's what it has done. I asked my dad the other day about my username. I've used this exact username my entire life, so I asked what happened for him to make this my username. When I was a child, and he was like, oh, it was just randomly generated username from the Xbox 360. That's so fair. Barely on topic, but still kind of. I am very happy. If anyone remembers Monkey Quest from Nickelodeon, it only ran for a few years, and then they tore down the service because they didn't feel like dealing with it anymore. Not that it had lost popularity. No, they just didn't feel like keeping up with it anymore. They didn't want to bother. There is a Reborn project for it. Monkey Quest Reborn. It is completely free to add onto your computer. It runs beautifully. They're still working on it. They're still updating it. Every now and again I come back to it. I am very glad to say, because I hopped on the bandwagon so early, I happily own the username Rock. No fancy characters. I have the 4-letter username Rock, and it wasn't taken. And I am so happy. I can't remember what my randomly generated name is. I'd have to open it up and see. I'd have to re-download it. I should. I remember why I didn't get back into that. Is because there's not actually too active a player base, and they've been updating some things. There is a really difficult dungeon that you have to do for a daily quest, and you used to if you played it perfectly. you could do it by yourself. You could not do that anymore. Not anymore. No. I spent like several hours, I spent several days working every night to see if I could do this thing by myself, and eventually I finally fucking did. Perfectly, precisely. There's a lot of like speed runny, very sweaty things you have to do in order to do it, but they fixed that. You cannot do that anymore. You cannot get away with that. And I get them wanting to make it like a multiplayer thing, because it is. But I want to do it. I want to be by myself. I want to exist by myself. I think that's probably why I never got properly into Repo. That's probably why I never really get heavy into multiplayer games, because I want to be able to go do the thing by myself. That's why I like Minecraft servers. I like to do the thing with other people by myself. I like to body double all of my tasks. But to like the farthest possible extent. I want to be doing the same project with you, but we're both doing our own projects under the same project. It's like we're in a company and we're working in completely different departments, but we can all come together and be like, hey, we're doing this thing. That is the thing I like about SMPs and doing all this shit. Because I get to go and be like, hey, you want to come see the insane shit I just did? Hey, guess what? I made a ship pop up overnight. And people can walk past my base and be like, why the fuck do you have 3 dozen red sheep? I don't know why people... I still don't understand why people thought the red sheep were so weird. They're not all black sheep, but that's beside the point. Literally, actually. They are black sheep. I wanted black wool for the tavern. What the... I don't know what the fuck they did to Minecraft, but they changed some of the mouse keybind, or like the mouse clicks and recognition, the register, and it's a piece of shit now. If I dare like try and do, I don't know how to replicate it, because every now and again I'll go, yeah, it's, I don't know what the fuck it does. Why the fuck did it pull a stack over here when I didn't click anything to do that? Why did it do that? I did add recently, very recently, a inventory organizer. I've had that problem since before I added it. Yes, me and my brother's bonding time is sitting in the same room on our phones and showing each other videos once per hour. So fair. Me and my friend Sugar Cookie, who I refer to as such on streams, we've been best friends since kindergarten. We've known each other 15 years now. I'm gonna see her Thursday. I can't wait. We're both very ADHD, and so every single hangout session together ends up being, oh my god, did I tell you about this thing? Oh, that reminds me of this thing. Can I show you it real quick? And then we sit down and watch in silence, occasionally pointing out the thing we're trying to point out in the video. And then we're like, oh, dude, you know what this reminds me of? Sit down, I have some tea. And so we end up pausing that and having a tea/therapy session. And then we go back to sharing videos and we're like, oh my god, we completely forgot about this video we're watching. Oh, I have even better one. This is way funnier than this thing. We gotta show this thing right now. Oh, did I ever show you that? We need to forget everything else we're doing. Let's go make some popcorn. Let's go grab a couple drinks. We should do that. We still haven't gone to that place. When are you free? We need to go visit that place. It's open these... Are you free that day? Are you free that day? It is that over and over. Until, in order to get across what we want to get across as quickly and efficiently as possible, we end up caveman talking. You get it, right? Words not needed. We understand. Crazy. Not. Crazy? Don't even. Don't. Bad. Don't think. Don't do. Word no need. Word no need. Yes. Very much. Word no need. 15 years, word no need. This? Enough. Enough. This is the nice thing about Facecam is I can do all that bullshit. Every now and again I go back and forth between Facecam or not. I think I'll actually stick with it this time. Because it lets me do this bullshit. And I do not have the wherewithal I do not have the care in me to figure out how the fuck to pull that off of a VTuber. I love my VTubers. I'm not figuring out. You could probably do it pretty simply, VRChat in a 3D model. I don't think Mew translates to a 3D space. Let's get a lovely picture up of Mew. I have a lovely one to show as an example. I don't think he fits 3D. This creature is not a 3D creature. Point blank, just not. It is horrid to even attempt to rig this motherfucker. I almost knocked over my drink. I breathe and you better understand. Yes. He's adorable. Yeah, I love him. I love doodling him. He's my favorite guy to doodle. Hold on, I have doodles. I have doodles. I have the doodles. Hold on, let me grab pickup item. Yes, trigger. I have some adorable fucking doodles of him recently. As completely different things. Let me do a lovely cam scanner. By the way, if you ever need to take photos of like actual paper in front of you or images, things physically in front of you, and you want it to look good and crop it very easily, I strongly recommend an app called Cam Scanner. C-A-M Scanner. It is fantastic. And it makes it really fucking easy. It almost looks digital quality, depending on the picture. And it makes it really easy if you're like taking a photo of a recipe or handwriting. It's so good. It is so good. There you go. Oh, you guys are gonna see my handwriting. That might freak some people out. Yes, I've seen many YouTube apps. Yeah. It's so good. I need to crop that more. There's like a giant area off to the side. Edit. There's like a giant blank area off to the side and I don't want to deal with that. There we go. I'm tempted one day I might make some of these emotes when I have the time again, or I might just do that as a random stream. We're just gonna do this to send to myself. We're just gonna do this. I literally have I have a server that's literally me in my second account. And I literally have a channel in it called Send to Myself. Bloop. Thank you, Nightbot, for the spams. We are going to add image. Image! Image, eh? M-R-G. Thank you. Download this. Big, much too big. There we go. These are the doodles I do for Mew. If I'm ever trying to figure out how I want to draw the Mofor, I just want to do some cute little things. I have a Pinterest board for Mew. And one of the sections of it is literally just called Doodles. And I just grab all the fuck-ass Discord emotes and reaction images. And I start drawing Mew as them. And I love it. He is made to be simplified. He has quite literally been made to be simplified, and his design pieces have been lost as I doodle him more and more. And one day, we're just gonna have a weird fucking skull, and that's it. Anguish. Just anguish. Also, fun fact, the holding block was a fuck-up of the I has a question that I just kind of corrected, but not really. Oh no, the floating block was a fuck-up of Gib. That's what it was. I love this little sitting one. I love the sitting ones too. Gib is a good favorite. Fucking adore my little Mew doodles. I've also figured out, because I'm trying to make some emotes for Misty, that the way I need to draw literally anybody in that style is just the cheekbones. That's all I need. That's all I need to do. I just need to make the sharpest cheekbones known to man. Just the largest goddamn cheekbones. Did you see what I said about Skyrim? Oh, I think I missed. Started Skyrim like a week ago and I had 25 hours on it by day 4. The hyperfocus took over a little too. I need to get back into it. I need to get back into it. Sherlock Holmes BBC. I think I know what you're talking about. I never got into Sherlock Holmes. I need to. I need to actually sit down and watch it. But I think I know what you're talking about. My mom, we have a giant movie collection. And she started from A last year. We're currently finally at S. She started like over a... I don't think it's quite been over a year. It's close to over a year at least. And what am I... Yeah, this is fine. We're okay doing this. This is the best course of action, actually. But we're finally down to S, and she was watching Sherlock Holmes. We talked about Sherlock Holmes last time I was here. Okay. I remember now. Bad memory, too many things happen. I try best with memory, but all associations. Brain works heavy off associations and train of thought. That is the only way brain work. Brain is like going through a bureaucrat catalog. You gotta have the keyword, otherwise you're not gonna find a goddamn thing. I bring up Sherlock every time. I need to. There are many things I need to write down a to-do list. Things I need to do, and just have like several pages dedicated to it. So I can slowly go through. I'm like, okay, I have free time. There's not really anything I'm particularly doing. I kind of want to do something new. What's on my to-do list? Probably the first one's gonna be killing fucking Alduin. I still have not gotten any farther on my Skyrim A through Z Legendary. I've instead now started Cult of the Lamb Super Hard Survival, which is far easier. I haven't beaten Cult of the Lamb ever. I have like 30 hours to my name, and I don't think I've even beat Leshy. Oh, I have now beat Leshy. I might have beat Leshy once in the past because I don't think I got a new achievement for it, but I have maybe 30 hours in the game. Super Hard is easier than Skyrim Legendary. Skyrim Legendary, I am level 60 and I'm getting two-shot by leather fucking bandits. Legendary mode is the reason that Sneak Archer exists, and you cannot change my mind. Sneak Archer doesn't even work half the fucking time. Sneak Archer takes 24 shots to kill a Deathlord. A level 100 archery and level 100 sneak wearing dragon plate, enchanted dragon bone, not dragon plate, sorry, I'm heavy armor, not a light armor. Wearing heavy armor, dragon bone, fully enchanted dragon bone, and I am still one shot by the most basic of fucking enemies. I cannot be touched by a goddamn Briarheart. I will simply keel over. It doesn't matter all the bullshit I have. It does not matter the bullshit I managed to acquire. It does not. It's so great. But in the A through Z, I'm just going through the NPCs alphabetically. The next character in my list is Alduin. I'm going off of the Skyrim wiki, and I'm not happy about it. If I hit a character out of order, it's fine. I do not give a shit. It's just like, oh, I already got that guy. Cool. It's annoying sometimes I forget, because I'm like, oh, I have to go kill this guy, and he's in the middle of the Dark Brotherhood questline. Okay, let me do Dark Brotherhood. I guess it'll get me some levels. And I went through all the questline until I got to the guy, and then I went to the area, and I'm like, I went to the lady who was supposed to give me the quest, and she's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for doing that thing for me. What the fuck do you mean? And then I looked up where he was. I had gone to that dungeon several weeks earlier because I wanted to fish. I wanted to fish. I have Creation Club Edition, and I hate the goddamn fishing like most people. However, thanks to a lovely Reddit thread, you can find every single goddamn fish that quest requires you to get that takes fucking forever in the world. You can pick it up out of the water. To get some of those fish, you have to go underground to the bullshit place with all the fucking... whatever they're called, the shit snow elves, that's all I can remember them as. You have to go to the underground place with the shit snow elves, where you have to get a goddamn Elder Scroll to get in. So I have a goddamn Elder Scroll, so I could get a goddamn glassfish. But I'd killed the guy for that quest and I had completely, entirely forgotten. I love when a random person is just like, yo, can you take my brother's ashes to the cemetery guy for me? It's like, bro, what? We just met. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I know we just met, but can you run halfway across Skyrim to tell this lady that I'm actually her father? That's something you can do with the Soulstime edition, actually. Sapphire from Thieves Guild, she has a really sad backstory. Or a tragic backstory, I think, more like. And you don't really get to go anywhere with that storyline, and she tells explicitly she grew up with her mom by herself on a pig farm in the middle of nowhere. If you play Soulstime, there's a blacksmith there. And he's Delvin's brother. And if you do so many quests for him, you can actually get a key into his house and you can go there legally. And down in a vault he has, there's a letter addressed to Sapphire that tells her, I'm so sorry for not being there. I'm sorry I left your mother. I should have been there for you. But he was afraid of the commitment and everything, especially with Thieves Guild, and that's why he left the Thieves Guild, because he used to be a part of it, and that's why he's in Soulstime. And it's such a cute little thing that goes nowhere. You can give the letter to Sapphire. There isn't really anything else that comes of it. You don't see Sapphire visit the guy at all. But you can at least go and give her the letter, which is so fucking cute, and I love it. You don't get anything else out of it, though, and I love it. I love it so much. There's cute little details like that around the world. And then on the flip end side of things, you can also just orphan every single child. It's like, oh, bringing people back together, and then carnage. Sometimes I will just quick save, then cause a whole fight and murder in half a city. And murder half a city, and then load my save and continue on with what I was doing. Like, I'm bored. That's why I started Skyrim Legendary, because while it's a goddamn piece of shit, it is the most fun I've had. It is the most fun I've had. The A through Z thing with all the NPCs is just a general guideline, because I'm still not bored of it. I'm just procrastinating Alduin. I have never beat the game. Not out of skill issue, just because I didn't want to fucking bother, and I hate Delphine that much. I've actually skipped the majority of the questline, so I don't have to deal with Delphine. Every now and again, I'll go through a bunch of, like, Skyrim. It's specifically Yimfa. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the username. That's how I choose to pronounce it. It's YMFAH. And they do goddamn ridiculous challenges. Like, you know, beating Skyrim at level 1. Or beating Skyrim without fucking walking. Which they did do. You can do that. That is something you can absolutely do. You can play the entirety of Skyrim and beat the goddamn game without ever moving one of the goddamn joysticks. That is entirely possible. He had a thing up on the screen the entire time of a little controller so you could see when he was doing this. And he had he had 2 different controllers up. It was really cool how he edited it. His editing is so goddamn good. But you can actually skip a majority of the main questline. Instead of dealing... I currently have the Dragon Bridge questline, where you go up to Dragon Bridge with Delphine and what's-his-face. The old rat man is what I'm gonna call him. You go up to Dragon Bridge with the old rat man and Delphine, and there's a whole dragon plaque there, and it tells you, oh, Alduin's back. Yeah, we know this already, obviously. He was kind of there when I was supposed to be executed. Anyway. I have not talked to Bulgruf. I've not talked to the Jarl of Whiterun. There's not a single goddamn dragon in my save. The only reason I have Dragonbone armor is because Creation Club is amazing, and it gives you a lot of shit for free. So if you run around enough at a high level, eventually some chests will give you Dragonbone armor, and you don't have to kill a single goddamn dragon. which makes going through Solstheim a lot easier. But, to get to the point, in order to skip all the quest lines, all you have to do... Esbern, yes, thank you. Killed like 5. On other saves, I have killed a lot, but I just don't like dealing with them every time I'm traveling somewhere. And it makes it really fucking annoying, especially in survival, when I can't one-shot a goddamn skeever. Which is completely fact. I cannot one-shot a skeever unless I'm sneak attacking it. It's bullshit. Legendary is bullshit. Most fun I've had, but bullshit. Just making mud pies over here. Anyway, you can skip the majority of the early part of the questline if you literally just break into the Falmer... Falsworn? Falmer? I think it's Falmer. Falmer Embassy. You can break in by, of course, plate ramming yourself into their front gate. And then also, there are other ways to do this. I just plate ram into the front gate and then kettle jump up over their back wall. And then you can go on in, skip half of the goddamn questline and half of the stupid talking bullshit. Steal the little books that tell you about Esbern, and then it tells you to go talk to Esbern. And you can continue from there. You do have to kind of unlock the little area that Delphine goes into, her little hideout in the inn, because it won't properly be unlocked, because you didn't do all that other bullshit. And they won't know how to get down there, because it's locked, and their pathfinding, because their stupid AI doesn't... Thalmor. Thank you. Thalmor. Pardon. Thank you. But you can just skip, like, a majority of the questline that way, and then you don't have to deal with a bunch of the bullshit. Because I think after that, it's really... there isn't a lot left. You go talk to Big Guy, you see history, you go fight Big Guy. You have to fight Big Guy again in the actual place in Sovngarde, because he ain't dead yet, bro. And then you're done. It's my first playthrough, so I want to do everything. Hell yeah. If you want to, like, a really fun way that I've done a couple playthroughs at this point, let me leave this here, because it seems Ellie has connected this up. Let me try and connect this up as much as I can. In a bit. In the new way I want it to connect. Need literally one more block there. There we go. That should be perfect. A way I really enjoy going through it, I've done different saves for this, but absolute first and foremost, if you want the most fun out of a playthrough, start Thieves Guild questline at level 1. It is by far the most fun way to level up and play the game possible. I don't think there's a better way to go about it. There are insane benefits. You get bed and rest immediately. If you're focusing on the side quests and the little side tasks in order to level up, then you get access to a lot of shops, so you have literally an entire shopping district, all the types of shops in the game, all the specialty shops, in one place for you that will accept stolen items. It is a fantastic way to go about the game. The only level cap that you will face is after... once you get the skeleton key, you will know about it when you find it. Once you get the skeleton key and you have to do a dungeon to return it, that is the level cap. That is when it suddenly spikes and it gets really annoying and difficult. And you have to go back and start leveling up because it's just a piece of shit. But that is also just the very end of the official Thieves Guild questline, if you haven't done all the side quests and become a master of the guild. But if that's the last thing you do is the main questline, then you immediately just become guild master and you have everything done. You have literally everything for Thieves Guild. I spent like 3 hours straight cutting wood for money. So fair, actually. Also, there are some really good ways if you don't mind it. I personally like doing conjuration magic because you don't have to worry about the carry weight, especially for bows and arrows. Because arrows in survival mode get really fucking heavy, and in general they're expensive and annoying as hell to make, especially the higher level arrows. Conjuration bows, however, are Daedric level. They are Daedric level for both... what the fuck am I hearing? Oh, that's what I'm hearing. They are Daedric level for both the bow and arrow. I'm not playing survival, it seems scary. That's fair. It is annoying as hell, and personally, I do have a mod. Not to make it easier, but just so it's not so annoying. I literally have a mod that just lets me fast travel in survival. That is all it does. I still have all the debuffs from fast traveling, it just lets me do it at all. Get out of my face, Skelly Horse. Move over here, thank you. It is, in large part, just annoying, though. Food is very easy to come across. Riften is honestly the best hub to get started in. Forget Whiterun, forget Falkreath. Riften is the best hub to get started in, by far. Is this the correct layer I want to do this in? No, I do not. I do not want to start here. We're gonna run all the way over to the Axo statue for a second, and I'm gonna see exactly where the middle... There isn't an exact middle of this bad boy, actually, now I think about it. Let's go with... what is this? 259? 259. I spend most of my time in Whiterun. That's fair. I really like Riften because just about everything you could need, you can get there fairly easily. Because it's already a thieving town, there's already a lot of that going on, so they don't care about it too much. Where's the place I want to be? Oh, this block. Lovely. Can I make that work? Oh, I can make that work. Yeah, I can do that. I can do this. Let's put this off to the side real quick, and then I can continue my thoughts, because my thoughts and my brain and my eyes don't work, and I really need my eyes to work right now. My brain and eyes don't work together. Clearly my brain ain't working, because I'm using my goddamn eyes. And I need to go over 2, and then dig down this one. Okay. But Riften, all in all, is a great thieving town, and pretty much everything you could want is over there. If you need food for survival mode, there is the fishing dock. And said fishing dock is absolutely chock full of fish. There's a boat there. Actually, generally, it's just full of fish. The lower part where that little river is that you hardly ever fucking go to, because it only has the alchemy shop and the Ratway, and nobody actually cares to look around that area, honestly. But if you do care to look around that area, there's a bunch of barrels everywhere, and those have food. And a large amount of the time, those are fishing barrels, and they will have multiple salt piles free for the goddamn taking. Literally, it is not illegal to steal from a single one of these. The guards might comment, but it ain't stealing, so I'm gonna keep doing it. They will comment like, what are you doing that for? Or something about you being poor, I can't remember. But they will make a little comment about that, otherwise it's not illegal. They'll just judge you for it. And they can judge all they want. They're the ones starving, not me. Nobody's stealing moss wheat rolls. But it is absolutely chock full of salmon steaks and salt piles. So purely running through there, you can get at least a good 50 to 70 salmon steaks, which can last you a good fucking minute, and they're not a very heavy... like, carry weight food source. And then, of course, there's the free board from the Ratway, which is a huge bonus. Not a lot of places have free board. Bro, the Thalmor embassy quest, you had to give your stuff to a guy to smuggle in, and I didn't even think about armor, so I had my weapon and nothing else. I died like 20 times. Oh no. Yeah. That's why I like also skipping the quest. I don't like bothering with that. I think every time I've done that quest, I didn't bother putting anything away. I literally just gave him all of my shit. Just did a give all. I rage quit 3 times. Absolutely fair. I think at this point, I'm fairly confident in my build. I will pretty much always go for a Conjuration heavy armor with archery. So currently I have Conjuration completely booked out. So I am actually running 2 summoned Atronax, and thanks to Creation Club, I have a Alid Lich. And it's very powerful. If you have a low conjuration skill, but enough magicka to spawn it in, it will give you several levels of conjuration. This bad boy is enough to get you from 20 to 25. What? What's Brain doing? What? Brain's working a little too fast, that's what it's doing. It's a little ahead of the curve. Little too much ahead of the curve. There we go. But it is genuinely good. And then I run with a conjuration bow. And usually just sneak archer off to the side. And then my conjuration boys take down everything that I need. I never understood why my brothers would yell at games. I was screaming every 10 minutes. I occasionally do, but only if it's doing something that does not make logical sense. And it's usually more exasperated than yelling. Like, when we were doing the Lucky Block Saturday, for some reason, the arenas that it spawned, there would be a rewards chest that it spawned. And every fucking time, I did not have this in testing. The first time it spawned it in, it did just fine. Every single time after that, for some reason, it spawned the chest up in the air. I don't know why this didn't happen in testing. I still don't know why it occurred. It consistently occurred every time after that, though. And I could not give a plausible reason at all as to why. I have not a clue. Most of the time, it's just me being exasperated at myself. Occasionally game mechanics. Because iron farms are being annoying buttheads. Again. And I keep insisting on designing my own farms. And they're being annoying, and I can't make my farms as aesthetical as I want them to. Billy Bob, welcome! New pup pictures? Nice! I'll check them out after stream. Wait, I don't... Oh shit, my elytra. That's a problem. I say as I fly to get it repaired. We could just go to my base. We don't have to go all the way over to the port. I literally have an XP farm at my base for this. Oh, my shovel! Oh, my tools! Oh, everything. Oh, well, mainly my tools and my elytra. I also need to... You know, we could drop off... Do I want to drop off stuff? We'll probably be fine. I really want to upgrade this area as well. I have a lovely idea for this space. I have it sketched out. I just need to have the time to do it. And that has been the #1 thing that I've been poor in, is just time. And money. But time. Okay, bye-bye. Gotta watch the movies. Alright, Betty Bob. Have a good night. I've completely forgotten about my drink entirely. Can this straw even pick up any of the boba? I can't tell. No, it can't. It pops it before it even gets through the straw. Okay. Tis is what is. I will grab one of my boba straws after stream then. Boop. I want to upgrade the little kill chamber of this one as well when I expand it out. I want to expand it out over this way, probably to the edge of this, and then have it connect up to the tower right here, I'm thinking. Something to that. Oh, Brain Blast. Wait, yes? I could probably... I'll figure out something. I had an idea of, like, doing the same thing I did up here with a nice grand staircase connecting from the tower into that. But I don't think that'd work out as well as I want it to. I think I need to do something else. I need to do something else for that. I'll have to deconstruct what I have going on here, everything I can that doesn't get in the way of the farm itself, and then see what I can achieve from there. I've been struggling to sleep for like a week, and I keep waking up tired after laying awake for like 4 hours. Last night I just didn't sleep and did crafts and went back to bed at 3 AM and work. Woke up at 8 AM feeling better than I had ever felt. That was fair. Sometimes... For me, when it came to sleep, I later learned after taking magnesium in order to sleep before trip. And I had gotten dreams for the first time in years that I hadn't been having deep sleep, which was the reason I felt exhausted for years. So that might be something to look into and seeing if even something like melatonin is the common one. For some people, magnesium might be better if you have trouble REM sleep, yes. If melatonin knocks you out too much, magnesium might be a good thing for you. It is recommended to take with food. If you go to sleep closer to when you have dinner, that would be a good choice. If not, have a little snack before bed. Grab a cheese stick or something with your magnesium. Of course, make sure and check in that you're okay. Do not take medical advice from streamers. This is just purely my experience. And luckily for me, after being diagnosed with ADHD, and now being on ADHD meds, those actually help me make sure I sleep. And I can now actually get consistently sleep. I almost never dream. Yeah, you're probably not getting REM sleep then. That is more than likely the reason. REM sleep is absolutely necessary. You should be having... If you're getting about 8 hours of sleep, you should have almost 3 full cycles of REM sleep. Because every cycle of sleep is about an hour and a half, if I remember right. Of you going in and out of deep sleep. My brother's a pharmacist and my mom's a nurse. I'll be okay. Alright. But that's something definitely to bring up then, because you should be having dreams every night. That should occur. Hello, Mutation Man. Hello, Carefree Caleb. Welcome, welcome. We are trying and attempting my best to work on... What time is it? Oh, we're only like halfway through. We're fine. We're only like halfway through the stream. It's only been an hour and a half. It feels like way longer. Granted, technically I haven't done that much. We've excavated this area. I still need to terraform that. That's probably gonna be an off-camera thing. Or I just forget them. That's fair. We still need to connect all the way up to the axolotl. Was it negative 15? I swear it was negative 59. Was it negative 60? I feel like it was negative 59. I don't know. Depth perception, I'm still working on it, but it doesn't feel like that's lining up correctly. It probably is, and I'm just being weird about it. Yeah, it is negative 259. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. I feel like we can definitely, at the very least, do what I outlined today. We can get East done completely. It doesn't take long for me to place all these. It will take at least bare minimum half hour. But the longest part of this is just excavating and terraforming around it. So I fully believe we can get the East area completely done. Oh, these stupid trees. This is a modded biome. We have a thing called Falling Tree that lets us chop down the trees in one hit. They do not recognize these stupid strip trees as trees. It just thinks it's a normal fucking thing. So the only way to get rid of them is old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. And that is... We have many survival tweaks on the server. And we have them for a reason. I had Minecraft nightmares for a little. I had a dream my family was in the server and the warden was coming after us. I had a dream about Among Us before Among Us was a thing. I had a nightmare that we were in I was in a dark parking lot being shoved into a white van. This was like 13, 14 or so. Shoved into a vehicle, a white van, by a guy in a giant red inflatable suit. That, in hindsight, looked suspiciously like Among Us before Among Us was a thing. Oh, that must be annoying, good old trees. It's very annoying. It's a beautiful biome. I love it. I love it very dearly. But every now and again, something in Terralif just doesn't work with the survival tweaks we have. And it was repeating. I had it continuously for like 3 days. Jeez. Yeah, that can be rather annoying. Although, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of a good way to approach this. things that most people would find scary, I just find interesting, or I have a completely different experience with, because I still consistently find the deep dark by accident. And while I talk about it often, I'm not sure how many new people are aware of this fact, and the fact I currently have a record of finding the deep dark by accident in 9.5 minutes. There is a reason I am a skulkback. Also, fun fact, there is a deep dark directly below us. That we found in the first 2 hours of stream of this server being up. Because of course I found it immediately. Went down into a cave with Lilac and Axe. I was like, hey, what if I found the deep dark? And I went down a cave. I went down further into the caves and looked over across the lava like, hey guys. And of course, it was, I don't think we confirmed if it was a triple ancient city. We knew for a fact it was a double. I know it's a double ancient city. AK, when I say double, I mean there are multiple of the, yeah, you can see it on the map. There are multiple of this structure, the giant, what I refer to as the portal structure. I don't think, okay, I think it's only 2, because I'm not seeing it any more than that. Last season, we had a triple ancient city with it right underneath spawn, which is fantastic. It did mean we had all the soul speed we want, or not soul speed, swift sneak that we wanted. I made a terrible mistake. I have an amazing idea for a video, and now I have to run a 5 kilo raid run. Oh no. That's when you gotta write it down. I literally have a notebook. I have it off to the side of me right now. That is literally just to write random shit down and random ideas down. So I have them down, and I can come back and look at them later if I realize they're a piece of shit, and maybe I can reinvent them to something later. Like a bunch of shit for the SMP. Where's... Can I light? Please? Trying to figure out a way for you guys to see that well. There we go! A bunch of sketches for the SMP. Bonked my thing. But yeah, I haven't filled too much of it out yet. I do also have the note for Alfredo Bobito Fi Fofito III in here. Because it's called GeoGuessr, but I have to run like 5k if I don't get 5k. And guess who didn't get a 5k score? Oh no. I wish you the best. I wish I could run. But asthma's a bitch. So I wish I could run. I need to get back into biking. It's been too hot to do that. I want to get back into biking again. I'd love to do another race. I would love to do a race. I would love to do that. I want my root beer float. There's a race I did as a kid a couple times. When you finished it, you would just get a root beer float. I adored that shit. And this is a long enough one. This was... I think it was about 40 miles. This was a long enough one that there were many stops along the way, and they had a bunch of food for you. The last one was like candy themed. One of the first ones, because it was early in the morning that most people would start, was like a bunch of bagels. It was a whole breakfast spread. It's great. That's a good idea. Yeah. It's great to write shit down. Mainly, it just helps with the impulsivity of it. And getting yourself to break the threshold from thinking about something to doing something. Which I myself find doing a lot is instead of actually going to do something, I'm thinking about doing it, and then I never actually get it done. So having that little notebook there kind of jumps over that like a marathon runner. And I can immediately sprint ahead to the next thing I need to do, instead of being caught up with my legs fumbling over and getting a stupid bruise on my ankle because I'm just thinking about it instead of doing anything. Oh, fun fact, I terraformed this. I spent like an entire day terraforming this area so it'd be nice and pretty for this path. And now it's gonna be all gone. Slowly looks at the 50 unfinished projects beside me. Honestly, I do love having unfinished projects all the time. Because that means if I don't want to work on something, I can procrastinate on it and work on the other project. it's genuinely actually kind of a helpful thing to do as long as you don't have too many, which I guess, yeah, 50 is a bit much. But it can be a helpful thing to do in safety doses. Where am I going? What is it? This one! This tree as well? This one. Hey, doink. Thank you, Shadow. Hello! Thank you for the cranberries. What? Ah, hi! There you are. Bonk. Well, I always know when a zombie's coming to get me. I'm gonna turn up my own volume a little bit. Oh, hi. How are you? Yep. Thank you. I need to find more curse mods like that. I know there are. I want to find some more that I'd actually like. Half of them I have you don't get to see because I don't interact with that stuff enough. Like I have frog suits. If any frogs in the game are in cute little suits, my lays are wisps from Legend of Zelda. They're all so cute. Of course, there's yeah. I'm trying to show off the cookie. Where? There he is, Cookie Son. I want to slowly add more and more curse things to my world. The more curse, the better. I'm not sure if I'll use White World again, though. I wish you amazing rest of your stream. I'm gonna continue recording random easy videos since I'm in the mood. Have a great night. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good time. Huh. That is really funny to see in third person sing the little head talking. I love that. It's still amazing me we're only an hour and a half in, because I feel like it's been way longer, but it just hasn't been. And that is downright insane to me. Maybe because my normal stream time is only like 2 hours. But I want to get this done. I think one of the things I was reading today, because I was trying to get through one of my books because it didn't get, what's the word I want? It's not refunded. Renewed! One of my library books didn't get renewed, so I'm like, okay, I gotta finish this one because I'm working on the other one. I want to finish Humor Seriously. That's the one that got renewed. The other one didn't. Another one was about, emotional intelligence. And not a lot of it really stood out to me. I just grabbed it off the shelf because I'm like, okay, this is a subject I'm kind of interested in because it was specifically emotional intelligence and business. I've been slowly going through various business books to see if any of them could apply to helping me run Passion SMP. And not a lot of it interested me except for the motivation part. They didn't actually talk about anything for motivation. They're like, oh yeah, this is important. Nothing about how to do the thing you need to do. Nothing directly about, oh, here's how you can get better motivation or help you find your motivation. No. Just that you need it. You need it. You should have it. It came free if you're fucking Xbox. Hydrate. Oh, yes. I will hydrate with water. I've been drinking not water. Is it not water? How much do you have to add until it's not water anymore? This was literally a powder packet. Is that technically? That's just flavored water, but it's a tea. No, it's a tea now because it has tea in it. I drink water. Oh, and stretch. Yes. I'm gonna do a big stretch. Stretch the shoulders. Because that's the one I always forget.
Profanity.
What's your profanity? Find my little footstool because I have tiny little legs. Wrong one. Oh no. Oh wait, I just realized. Did my sound alerts fix themselves? I think the reason I hear double of it is because I have a thing that lets me hear it. Because I used to not be able to. Unless it fixed itself. That's probably why I'm hearing double of it. Because I know you guys can't. I can. So it's probably that. Meant that one. Okay. Enjoy, Lurk. Have a good night. What was I? The motivation. I think I kind of started figuring out my motivation. Because we're gonna loop this back around, I promise. Stick with the program here. This is the program. It's gonna take a minute, we're gonna get there. I'm gonna ride that wave. For several months now, I've been using a planner, and planners are notoriously horrible. Notoriously horrible for those with ADHD. I am very ADHD. Mainly executive dysfunction. And I have found a specific planner type that works fantastically for me. And it's the one I've been taking notes in for the stream. This is called a productivity planner. That is just a flashbang. This is a productivity planner. It is completely unlabeled. It just has little areas you can highlight or circle at the top so you can put down what the date is. It is listed out in half-hour increments, and you can write down the priorities of the day, what you're going to do that day. You can write down your meals, your workout, how much water you've had, if you need to call or make appointments. And the other side of the page is just empty area for notes. And at the bottom has daily affirmations and gratitude, if you are so interested in that. And for a little while, when I first started using this is my second one, by the way. The other one, I have completely finished. It took me about 2 months. I completely finished the other one. I have not finished a planner in fuck knows how long. I have completely finished this one, and it has genuinely been helpful every day. And I'll just make a general list of, okay, I need to do this thing at this time. I'm at a point where I need to be able to do stuff freely. There's some stuff I need to do freely, and some stuff I need to be able to force myself and do it at that fucking time. So right now I have, like, my morning routine listed out. I always try and have lunch about the same time. Right before what is usually about dinner time, I'll try and get out of my room, let my room cool off a little bit, go meditate, go read a little bit, let my brain think itself out, be outside, and breathe in some goddamn fresh air. Have dinner, and then before bed I'll do my planner, and I have a little phone time before I sleep. The rest of the day is completely blank, and that's where I have my to-do list so I can fill in the blank. I like Finch. I know you use it too. I'm usually good at daily tasks, but routine I suck at, so it works. That's fair. And I have to force myself to do it because burb. So fair. Something I added recently to help. This also kind of ties into the motivation, and I promise we're going to get to it. The planner has a reason for it. Is connected to the planner's daily affirmations is I started doing daily affirmations just so I kind of believe in myself and what I'm doing more. Hello, I still don't know how to pronounce your name. I apologize. Derisum? Derusum? Derisum? If I remember right, it's something similar to that from watching the SMP. But hi, hello, we're talking about motivation. And also, currently, affirmations, because one of the strongest things you can do for content is just kind of believing in yourself that you can do it. But I started doing that, and I have that several times a day. So in the morning, I'll do just like their Finch's basic repeat your affirmation, or repeat their affirmations, and I'll do that in the afternoon as well. But at night, they have another pre-made one that's say something about yourself that a friend would say to you. And I've also attached an exercise to it, so I'll write a little something. And then at the end of the day, I'll say one small win. So I'm acknowledging myself, getting a little more self-confidence in that. And it also ties back into my motivation. Every day for this planner, I've been writing something as much as I can into that gratitude and affirmation area. And for a little while, I would switch back and forth between different quotes and find something that I really liked. And one has purely stuck with me because it's something I strongly believe in myself. And it's reap what you sow. And after reading the emotional intelligence thing and not really getting any concrete answers on motivation, I'm like, what motivates me? What do I love about the SMP? What do I like to do? What am I doing? And like, I want to reap what I sow. I want to reap the future. Let me work on it right now. And that was the key to my motivation immediately. Because I'm like, I need to go get this shit done. If I want to work on tomorrow, forget putting it off till tomorrow. Let me work on tomorrow today. And then I can get ahead of the schedule and I can have some time to myself. Efficient laziness. My biggest motivator. It was laziness all along. If you tap into your laziness and make yourself so productive so you can be lazy, there you go. I like that Finch started to do daily affirmations. Yeah, it's great. I've been loving a lot of the different like Finch exercise things. I like using their little focus timer so I'm not getting distracted while I'm reading, and I'm actually reading for the 20-odd minutes that I want to. In USA, pronounced Darius. Oh, Darius, but in Romanian it's pronounced Darius. Or Darius. Okay. Darius, okay. Gotcha. I will do my best to remember that. Thank you. Lush cave? Very lush. That is not so lush. But I already knew that was there. But yeah, it's been a huge key to my motivation. I've been a very introspective... This is a pet peeve of mine. I realized this the other day while I was shopping because I was like trying to self-examine and be introspective about this because there were just some annoying people out and about that maybe shouldn't have been. And admittedly, I was a little judgy about it. I'm like, what's going on here? Why am I being judgy about this? And I think for me specifically, it's not people who have a problem and they're like having trouble with something. That's not what I care about. That's not what I'm judgy about. What I'm judgy about is people who have a problem, know it exists, and do not do anything about it and make it other people's problem. When they're just being a butt. Because even if you're literally just starting to look into it, if you even communicate that, hey, you know this thing is going on, I am so sorry about this, you are immediately... What's the word I want? You're immediately completely fine in my book. You are A-okay. But it's a huge pet peeve when you're doing something that is so fucking annoying, and you know it's happening, and you're just letting it be a butthead to other people. It's so annoying. Because, like, we were trying to go around and get stuff done. We had ice and ice cream melting in the car. We're trying to get stuff done. And we're sitting in line at getting food, and people are like, no, I want this specific piece of chicken. I want this. Or they're, like, talking in the middle of the walkway, and they're slowly walking in front across the exit to the store. And then the person's just like slowly try to herd them over. Just like, push them off to the side. If you know this is a problem, grab them, push them off to the side. This should be something communicated and established so you know how to handle if it so occurs. I have a friend who is spacey. If they're spacey and I need to pull them off to the side, I'm like, okay, pause you. We need to go over here. We're in the way. And they're like, oh, okay. We move off to the side. Communication. It is so fucking good. Please goddamn use it. It makes everything better. Just communicate. That is all I ask. Yeah, just fucking communicate. Literally. If you can't answer me right now, literally just send a text. Hey, I can't answer right now. Talk to you later. I'm like, cool. Okay, got it. Or even literally an interaction I had earlier. Hey, sorry for the bad grammar. I'm doing text-to-speech right now. I'm like, cool, okay, no worries. It's not a big concern. We're typing over Discord about baby plans for playing a bullshit friend swap game, but okay, cool. No worries. We got it. I need to remember where things go. I need my brain not to work. I need to use my eyes for like 2 seconds. I don't know why this is a thing. This is absolutely a thing. Brain and eyes do not work together. Probably because they actually don't. If I did not have my glasses, they would not. They would not be. Also, while I hate these paths, 100% they are the #1 reason I have any resources at all. I did not have, like, any wood prior to doing these paths. They have been a serious resource gain on basically everything. I have a ridiculous amount of coal and iron now. I have 3 stacks of coal blocks. And there's, I already have a lot of iron. There's not a great way to show that because I have the iron farms. But it's given me a huge amount of resources. I had 0. Oh yeah, that's That's a good way to show it. I had almost 0 stone, and I've been going up and down through my stone stores because of this, because it's made of it. But regardless, I'm still adding ridiculous amounts, hordes, swaths of stone to my foray. Foray? Fortois? Foray versus Fortois? Pray tell. Foray? Foray! Sudden raid or military advance. That is not what I want. Avenger initial attempt, especially outside of one's usual area. Fortois? 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 Not Fort Wayne. Fortois? Not Fortuna. Fortuna Italian sandwiches. Fortuna sandwich shop. Fortois? Fortois? I always apologize with a reason if I miss a text, and the other day my friend had sent me a video but I was at a cemetery seeing the great-grandpa. So I said sorry and said I was at the cemetery, and she was like, girl, you don't have to apologize. Yes! Communication, it's so good. All the time, 100% of the time. Fortois. Or... Well, how else could I write that? Fortois? French word. Probably. I didn't want Google Translate. That is... Fortois? Not fortune in French. Toi. It's not forte. Fortois. You know I'm struggling when I have to pull out the phone and get the speech to text. So I'm not looking for forte. All using app, thank you. Fortois. It typed 412. Fortois. Fortois. It just typed 412 again. What the? I just want to know the word. What's the definition, vaguely? I don't know why, this is the first thing that came to mind. Deck of cards. Your resources. Your repertoire. That's why I'm missing half the word. Repertoire. There it is. I'm missing half of the word. Your repertoire. The range of number of skills, aptitudes, or special accomplishments of a particular person or group. I was missing half of the word. Okay. Great. I love when I fuck up a word so bad Google can't even help me. It's a rare thing, but when it happens, it's so goddamn funny. I think the last time that happened, it was... There's a word I really fucking hate. Because it's just written in the most god-awful way. And of course, I can't remember it. It's there. It's almost there. I love when my friends can't find a word, so I start playing guessing. I have a lot of resources specifically to find words. I have a website that literally just tells you how to pronounce words. I'm pretty sure I threw this in the Discord. Underwriting resources, Forvo! F-O-R-V-O. And you can put in any words and it'll tell you the pronunciation of it. What was it? Yes, this is what I was doing. Right. I'm still trying to pull the bullshit word. I'm mentally searching through the files. I'm trying to find it. I don't have the correct keyword and the bureaucracy is not working. Charades is an amazing. Charades is an amazing game. I want to do Gartic Phone sometime. I don't care. I want to do it sometime. Specifically to play Two Truths and a Lie. I just want to find a way to play Two Truths and a Lie. I'm really tempted to set up... Where the fuck have I been throwing these? Where? It's a bush. Bush goes in the bush. Bush in the bush. That would be why. Bush in the bush. In the bush in the bush. I really want to play Two Truths and a Lie because there are some random things I have done that I can throw out of my butt that you wouldn't expect from me, just this random Minecraft YouTuber who cares a lot about writing for some reason and gets way too heavy into random subjects and then completely forgets what the hell they're doing. Like, I helped design my high school's the remaking of my high school. That is a random ass thing I can say. I consulted on my high school's new design. Or my old... I say my high school, I should mention old high school, the one I graduated from. One time in my health class we played charades and my teacher just gave us the list for prompts to act out, and I didn't mean to, but I memorized the list on complete accident, so every time the other people would act it out, I would know it immediately. So real, actually. I don't know why I remember this so vividly. But for some reason, maybe it just stuck in my head because it was such an out-of-place thing. But one day I had the hiccups in class, and I happened to just, like, hiccup out loud by accident, and, like, the entire class turned to me like, it's a fucking hiccup, what? Like, I guess it's just, I get that it's a random sound and people turn to it, but you don't have to gawk like you just saw a Triceratops in the koala exhibit at the zoo. They were so pissed with me, and I said, well, you could memorize it, and I'm like, and one of the guys is like, I'm dyslexic, no I can't. Oh no. This is, again, barely connected. Sugar Cookie and I have been best friends for years, and I tend to help, like, her look over her writing sometimes to get just a second pair of eyes on it real quick before it gets sent out. And there's always been a consistent problem with her writing that it's just, the prose is slightly off. And after a couple months of, like, going over and helping her with this and fixing up the same sentences, I'm like, hey, Cookie, do me a favor, read this in Japanese. And she's like, what? Oh my god. She's half Japanese. She was writing English sentences in Japanese word formats. It took us... She's been doing this for years, and it took us this long to realize her mom's a Japanese teacher, and no one has figured it out until now. And I think it's so funny. Because I'm just like, a pattern recognition is recognizing. Someone cooked here. Someone cooked here. This was before I learned Japanese too. I'm like, this is almost English word format, but not quite. What's happening here? This isn't. We do not have large red balls. We have red. What? We do not have red large balls. We have an order for colors for some reason for adjectives. You do not see a large polka dot red elephant. That does not sound correct. You see a red polka dot large elephant. I don't know. There's a specific form we use for some words, and you cannot fucking explain it, and there's no way to goddamn explain it. Because it's just what sounds right. Where am I bamboo? I'm explaining this horribly, but hopefully I get that across somewhat correct. Where's my bamboo is with the bamboo. Bamboo and the bamboo. Should have known. I just had to throw the bamboo with the bamboo. I've seen Tumblr posts. Yes, that's exactly what I'm referencing. So I need to use Tumblr more. I need to use it more. I have 2 different accounts, and the Mutation CIP one is the second account. So I finally gave up. I'm like, okay, just clone that app. Why not? Just clone it. But it won't send me notifications, so I just need to, like, get myself to check in on it each day. Where? Where's? Where? Nether. Should have known. The nether was with the nether. And it always is. Like a half hour of this is literally just me throwing shit away. This is what I'm tempted. I'm so tempted to organize this alphabetically, but I know it'd be hell. 1, to organize it. 2, to actually put anything away. I might commit to that another time, on another world, on another year. On this server, at this moment, no. No. That is not something I feel like tearing my hair out for. No thank you. I already barely have enough of it as it is. I can't lose any more. I need the thing. Give me the thing. This. Thank you. Oop. Yote. Yote? Yote yeet? Yeet yote? Is yeet the past tense or the present tense? That's the question here. Why am I throwing this over here? It needs to go over here. Wait, what? I stutter over the most basic of sentences, and then somehow manage to pull that off, and I do not understand at all how such a thing occurs. I want to throw the emerald ore, because emerald ore is very, very special. Throw that in there. Next to all the casual special items I do own as well. Like, you know, 2 zombie nautilus. And a blush. There's such very important things to be categorized with. Do you know the word cliche? This will tie into a story, I swear. Yes. And cliche is a very cliche word. It's like being at a spelling bee and asking, like being told to spell out weather, and they're like, oh, I don't know whether or not the weather will change. I love this stupid repo. I love it so much. Sometimes you need a little whimsy to get you to log on to your world. I need to see if Lilac has played repo. I feel like Lilac might like this. Misty would think it's goddamn cursed. 100%. Not a doubt in my mind about that one. Misty would hate it, but eventually she might come around to it. Maybe. But I think it'd just be funny to have her try it anyway. I feel like Axe would like it. I'm trying to think of who else might. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong one. I clicked caps lock. That was not what I need. Okay, so my friend started writing a dark romance book, 8th grade, and it was so freaking cliche, and I told her that, and she kind of nodded faintly, and I was like, you don't know what that means, do you? And she was like, no. And I cannot believe she had never heard it. I have a 5-year-old nephew. Today, while I was watching him for a little bit, he started just asking questions, because one of the Roblox flames, he apparently was asking questions. And he's at an age where he knows some things, he doesn't know others. So he's asked, I don't remember what the first question it was that he asked. But he's like, no, that's the wrong answer. This is the correct answer. I'm like, buddy, that is called an opinion. That is your opinion. And he's just like, whatever, uncle. And we continued through this. Through different things, and the problem is my opinions are not the common at all. Like, one of the questions he asked was, oh, what do you think is scarier, spiders or snakes? I'm like, I don't think either are scary, actually. I've held a snake. I think spiders are pretty cute. They're really adorable. I would love to own a jumping spider. I would love to have a little jumping spider. That'd be so cute. I would love to get them a cute terrarium. I'd love to own rats again. But I would like to get them a proper cage. A lot of the wire ones aren't good for their paw pads, and it can be really bad on their bodies long term. Especially if if they live as long as my last ones did, rats are usually 1 to 2 years. My last pair of rats, Nova and Sunflower, they're cute little sisters. They lived... Sunflower lived to almost 3 years old, and Nova lived like 3.5. I finally have a newborn cousin, and I can't wait to feed him random knowledge I never have to deal with. So fair. Who built the pyramids? Aliens, correct. Nice. My favorite thing is just showing him stuff that he's gotta know. Like showing him vines. He's gotta know vines. It's my duty. I gotta make... He likes Thomas Sanders. I did get that one in. He does like Thomas Sanders. I did manage to pull that one. He doesn't care about a lot of the shit I watch. He did like Thomas Sanders. Granted, I kind of, sort of, imprisoned him into it. AKA, I held him hostage because we were eating a snack and playing games, and it was a sticky snack. I didn't want him getting Cheeto dust on my controller. So, I got him watch Thomas Sanders. But one of the other questions he asked was, what do you think is scarier? Vampires, werewolves, or zombies? And I'm like, I don't really think any of them are scary. Once you get older, dude, you're gonna start thinking some of them are cool. Trust me, you're gonna think vampires are really cool when you're older. There's a whole series about being best friends with vampires called Twilight, and your mom will tell you all about it. Trust me. She has all of them. Edward, yeah. Yeah. Brain is not good. Not good. But we're gonna do our best anyway. Against all the allergies, because every goddamn stream I have the itchiest of noses for no goddamn reason. But we do our best anyway. Just typed as he said, yeah! And of course, he's like, guess what mine is then? I'm like, I don't know, zombies, because he was talking about it a bit. And he's like, no, vampires. Vampires is the correct answer. I'm like, buddy, again, that's your opinion. That is just your opinion. He's at an age where he thinks he's right about a lot of things, and he can't quite comprehend that that's his perspective of the world. They sparkle. I have something saved to buy for several of my friends, because pretty much all of them want this. There is a lot of merchandise you can find out there. It's usually on shitty, what's the word I want? Shitty grifter websites. But you can find an Edward Cullen rainbow fish merchandise. With, of course, the words... Or what does it say? What? I have this saved. Where is this saved? Ah, yes, this is the skin of a killer Bella. You can type into Etsy, this is the skin of a killer Bella, and you will get a lot of results. And a fair amount of them are the rainbow fish. Others are memes of a random guy in camo that kind of looks like it sparkles, and a few of them are less safe for work. One of them is just a picture of the skin of a killer Bella, but it's just the back of a fucking car, and it's clearly a Kia, but they've blocked out just above and below, just in the middle. You can see the bottom and top of the text. They blocked out in a little block that says redacted for legal reasons, but you can clearly tell what it is. It's not a license plate. It's just the fact that it's a Kia. For $5. And I have no idea what they're selling, but I think it's funny. I've never actually seen Twilight. I was part of the Harry Potter fandom, so I saw a lot of it. I was part of Harry Potter as well. I don't think I've ever seen the entirety of a Twilight movie. I've seen pieces of it. I know the general gist of it. I've seen some Tumblr long-form posts joking at it. There's a post out there of pointing out the fact that probably from her dad's point of view, whatever the main character's name is, from her dad's point of view, that's probably a horror film. Vampire comes in and takes your daughter and makes her live eternally. She will outlive you. She has died. She's taken away forever and you can never see her again. That movie is fucking horrifying from the dad's POV. But I very much so was a Harry Potter kid. The lady's a piece of shit. Prior to Lady being a piece of shit, I do own pretty much all of the physical Harry Potter media. As in the books, the side books. The other side books that you've forgotten about. Or the side book and the other side books you've forgotten about. That's the reason we even have some of the movies that we have now. The movies and all the original books. As in... Where is this? Where's my... Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This was a Scholastic set, with 2 other books including Quidditch of the Ages. This is how we got the movie. This has the guy, and it has a note from Albus at the end. Yep, introduction by Newt. And then foreword by Albus. I do also have Cursed Child, though. What's the other one? Tales of Beetle and the Bard, I also have. I should read that to my nephew. I should. He would like that. He likes Harry Potter. I've seen all those and I want them all. I have them on Kindle. Nice. I have a lot of books back here. They've been changing over time. Did I collect all of them finally? Yeah. Are you ready for your middle school memories to be very jealous? I now finally own all of the Amulet... That's the wrong side. I finally own all of the Amulet series. All 9 of them. After slowly collecting them over the years. I still need to sit down and read the knife one. I have not done that. I got this like a month ago and I completely forgot. I haven't had the time to. They are expensive to get. So it's been a slow collection of birthday and Christmas gifts. Very, very slowly. And we thought 8 was the last one, and then like, I finally have all of them. And I read to the end of 8, and I'm like, how are they gonna finish this? How are they gonna finish this in this one book? And then I make it to the last page. To be continued in the final book. I didn't have all of them. I didn't. I am jealous you are successfully. Slowly but surely, I got them all. I finally caught them all. Fuck you, Ash. I got them. This is slowly things I've collected over time. There's a couple books I need to get my hands on. There's very few books I seriously liked in, like, my younger years, elementary school and such. And I have most of them. I have most all of them. However, there is one I still have not got my hands on. And it was for... I don't know if this is going to dox me, so I'm just going to say book competition. I had to read it for basically a class. And... it was called Bud Not Buddy. It is a historical fiction, a child of historical fiction. I'm surprised they haven't banned it yet. They probably have tried to. And it is about a black orphan in the 1960s, if I remember correctly. And it is a nice story about kids being fucking idiots and not realizing what the hell's going on, and thinking the blood drive truck that's going by them is a vampire. Kind of shit. But it is heavily inspired and heavily plays off of everything that was going on at the time, because it's not outright there, but it does lean towards heavy homelessness. He travels with some homeless people for a little while, and it also talks and works with the jazz that was being born at the time. The author talked to his grandpa for the story. Dusty? What you doing, dude? What you want? What are we doing? Are we just staring at the door? Looking like a perfect silhouette of a cat mid-step? Just gonna lay down right there? Okay, that's fair. What temperature is it out there? Probably better than this goddamn room. Where's my weather app so I can actually see, because I have Do Not Disturb on, so I can't see a single goddamn notification. Oh, it's like 10 degrees cooler. Hold on.
You want a window? You want a window?
He's just happy to exist on the floor. He's just vibing. I read them during old middle school. I got them from the school library and they were amazing. I remember reading them from between like 3 grades. Yeah. There's a bunch of books I've slowly collected over time because I had read them for school for one reason or another. One of them, my elementary school, I'm pretty sure still does. I need to check it and see if I could volunteer for that. They held a carnival. And for the bingo, of course, it's a school, they have to make this somewhat educational. The prize for bingo was some of the leftover or donated library books. And one of the such books I grabbed was called The Thickety by J.A. White. It is a fantastic book, and I adore it, and I love every single reread of this. And I adored this book for ages, and I've read it so many times. The poor thing, the poor pages. Some of them are being torn off on the ends. They're all weathered on the outside. Part of the color's missing from the edge of the cover. It's got a bunch of creases in the middle from me being a dumb kid and not treating the goddamn book right. And I adore rereading this thing. It's my favorite thing over and over and over. It's my #1 source of writing inspiration. And in middle school, late middle school, after rereading this thing over and over for years, I did a book report on it because I knew this thing from cover to cover. And I was looking for a picture of it for my slideshow. And one of the pictures that Google Images gave me had 4 other books with it that looked the exact same, that were parts of the series. I had one of goddamn 4 for years, and I had no fucking clue. So there's way more to the story that I had missed. And I have slowly since collected all the books, and I need to sit my ass down and actually read them. I think once I finished the second one, and I started a bit on the third before I grew bored. I do want to actually finish it, though. I need to finish it. I have not heard Wings of Fire, no. It's such a good book, though. The general plot... Oh, poor Dusty, hold on. The general plot of The Thickety is... Think of the burning of witches, that era. Or the era of witches when they're doing witch burnings and everything. Except, this is an island in the middle of goddamn nowhere that still lives like this. Years later. Very clearly years later. And, unfortunately, the main character is the daughter of someone who was hanged as a witch and known as a witch, and has not left a good mark on the family. These people live a very... There's a word I want here. Mormon? They live a very Mormon lifestyle. There's no technology, no nothing, and they absolutely have zero magic. Magic is not allowed. You can't even say the word wish. One of the first chapters literally has a kid get in trouble for daring to say that they wished for something. And it was something as simple as they couldn't wait and they wished they could already have this delicious pie that was for an event coming up in a week or so. And it's a beautiful book about magic and the assumptions around magic, that people can be good with magic, that people... Which witch? That is a good question. There are many witches in the book. It goes over the corruption of magic as well, and how you can be manipulated for your magic in addition to it. A heavy premise of it is your grimoire. The stereotypical thing we think of with witches, grimoires are cursed objects in this series. They trap witches for eternity. If a witch has used all the pages of her grimoire, she is cursed to that grimoire forever. You are far more safer making your own spellbooks from basic notebooks. And that is a heavy topic throughout this. And eventually they do go off and explore this even more. But it is so fantastically written. And it is definitely for all ages, regardless of how old you are. It's perfect to read if you're... Like, late elementary school could probably read it on their own, but if not, you could probably read it to someone a little younger than that and help them out and understand it. I'll have to read that sometime. It's so good. It's so good. I'm gonna stop this right here. This is fine right here. It is such a great story. It's so good. I love it. I adore it. It transcends. It's so good. It deals with a lot of grief too, and it shows parents not being great, and also the complexities of kids, especially slightly older kids, because the main character is about tween years. I'd say no older than 14, no younger than 11 or 12, probably 12 or 13. And it deals with that age where you start recognizing and being able to actually interact and talk with the adults around you, and the adults do not like you. That awkward little age. Because a lot of the adults make it very clear around her that they do not like her. There's only one person that treats her with somewhat kindness, and it's still threadbare at best. And even then, the kindness is not being mean. The kindness is daring talk to her in the first place. But it is genuinely such a good fucking book. It is so goddamn well written. I read a dystopian book called Flawed this year and loved it. Ooh. There's not a lot of fiction. Admittedly, most of my fiction books I have are just like childhood books that hold a lot of nostalgia for me. Another fucking fantastic one that I strongly recommend no matter your goddamn age, because it's just a fun, swell read, and it's a great way to get into some folklore. It's called Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. I believe it's Chinese folklore. And it's a fantastic story that mixes in one main overarching folklore with mini folklore throughout it. And it's goddamn gorgeous. Where is this? It is such a goddamn good book. Oh, it's a Newbery honor, too. But it's got adorable little chapter art as well. What's the name? Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. I want to see if I can find. There are pages that have full art on them. There it is. There's one. There we go. Oop. Nice. It's gorgeous. It is definitely a children's book, but it's still good even when you're older. Another one, also definitely a children's book. You can tell how loved this one is because I adored it and I've read it over and over. is called A Nest for Celeste. And it's a little mouse living on a prairie and her difficulties living on that prairie. I shall add it to the 146 book long reading list. Also, this one's full of illustrations that are a goddamn delight. Can I get one of Trixie? Can I get Trixie's? Where's Trixie? Elena and Trixie! There we go. It's a goddamn delight. 147. Look at the little kitty cat. Look at the little kitty cat. I love him. There's also a sequel to this book called Another Quest for Celeste, where I need to double check who it is, because I'm always wrong about it. I need to double check. Whomst. Stop calling him the boy. What's his name? Okay, I think I am right. Where she helps Abraham Lincoln learn to read. If I remember correctly. That's not including my separate written list I have in a notebook that I have yet to add to the digital list. But this one, she accidentally leaves the prairie. She doesn't mean to. People from the prairie are moving away. And her house at the end of the story ends up moving away with them. And then she ends up getting lost and runs around for a little while before ending up with Abe. I want to see if I can get a full name, because I think it's Abe. Does it say on the back? Does it? Yep. But it's inside the pocket of a boy named Abe Lincoln where she feels the coziest and most right. In losing her way, Celeste finds herself in a place she never expected. Home. Finally. I need to reread this again. I need to just start spending time rereading through all my own books. For some reason, I always want to say it's George Washington. No, it's Abe Lincoln. Very, very different. I need to put flowers away. Flowers. Flowers. Also, heads up, I think we're gonna end off pretty soon here. I want to finish wrapping up and putting this stuff away. And then Thursday will be Cult of the Lamb. And I will also try and supercut that one again. Tomorrow, if you missed the last Cult of the Lamb stream, it should still be up for another 48-ish hours if you want to watch the full VOD. If not, 12 p.m. tomorrow, as long as I get it out at the right time, I should. There will be a supercut of the stream that will be fully edited. So instead of watching 2.5 hours, it'll probably be like 45 minutes or something. Probably. I gave away a few of my childhood book series and I regret it so much. That's fair. We've scored away a lot of ours. I can't remember who started it, but we have a collection of the Golden Back books, if you understand what I mean by that. The ones with the golden spine. We have a collection of those. I think they're with one of my brothers right now. But we slowly scored away a lot of those. And for a while, my sister, who is the mother of my nephew, was slowly collecting all the Dr. Seuss books. I think I've heard of them. Yeah. This is one that is actually targeted for adults. Let me double check the name on this. I have a Winnie the Pooh book for adults. Well, I don't have it. I want to get it. I have read it. I know of, is what I mean. There is a Winnie the Pooh book for adults called A Walk in the Wood. It is $20, but it's $3 on Kindle. Or $1 audiobook. This is via Amazon prices. It's A Walk in the Wood, meditations on mindfulness with a bear named Pooh. And it's just a great way to kind of slow down your life a little bit. Even if you don't care about meditation, it's still a fun read, especially if you really liked Winnie the Pooh growing up. I didn't watch Winnie the Pooh growing up, I didn't interact with it a lot, but I adored finding this book by accident. Get the Gruffalo for your nephew. I'm not sure that's spelled right, but he must grow up cultured. And I shall try. It's such a good book, especially if you could just find it at your library. The way it's sectioned out is it has a typical chapter. We'll start off with a little, like, sentence or two about it and how we got to this point. And then it'll have an actual page or two of Pooh interacting with one of the characters and seeing how they interact with the world. And taking a minute to slow down and just exist. They take a walk through the wood. They go visit and talk with a friend and help them slow down a little bit if they're really fast. Or help them really be in the moment if they're kind of wandering off in their head. And it's just really sweet. And after the actual chapter part of it, it'll have like adult level reading text about like, hey, here's what this chapter's talking about. Here are some ways you can integrate it. Here's what we think is important. If you just want some takeaway pieces, here's what's actually going on here. So you can take the actual exercises we are trying to express in this into your life. Because meditation, I understand why people don't really care about it and think it kind of faddy. What's the name so I can write it down? A Walk in the Wood. With Pooh. With a bear named Pooh. But mindfulness is also kind of trendy at the moment. What I mean by meditation and mindfulness is largely just existing with less stimuli. And actually recognizing that you're existing. When you go on a walk, listen to your trees. If you're sitting outside reading, be very start recognizing the birds that chirp around you if you so have them. It's just sweet to see. I was so happy the other day I was reading outside. I had a nice breeze. It was nice and cool out. I had the umbrella shading over me, and there was a mourning dove cooing in the distance. And I'm like, this is delightful. This is great. I love this. It was so nice. It was so good. Little things like that. And that can really help your days, your general day-to-days feel way less overwhelming. I love morning doves. Yes! Just doing stuff like that helps your days feel way less overwhelming because you're way less overstimulated. Perfect timing. Thank you. Thank you, server, for doing that to me. Perfect timing. It's fine. Let's get that off here. But it's just a good way to go about getting being less stimulated in your life, especially if you're dealing with mental problems like ADHD, anxiety, autism. If you can handle it, and if it's something you can slowly, gradually bring down, is not having stuff all the time and just being able to be a human without technology. It's very good for you. But that'll be it for today. This VOD will go up Thursday on the second channel. I don't think this is going to be cut into the main thing. I just needed to get some work done, and then we had a damn good time chatting while we were doing it. I think that'll be it. There's definitely going to be a lot of videos coming your way. I don't think I have the time to do a build challenge this week. I'm probably going to push that off to the side. And I don't think there's going to be time for build challenges from now on, because there'll be the second if I don't hiccup. There's going to be the second SMP I'm going to be joining. So Wednesday videos will move from build challenges to that, which is its own kind of build challenge because it's themed and I have to do that theme. I'm pretty sure there will be a fun little side video coming up soon. I feel like because Cult of the Lamb's going on the second channel right now, I'm going to probably maybe throw that. I don't know where I'm going to throw that. I might just throw that to the main channel for the funsies. Who knows? But I'll be recording with Lilac and Axe soon here. So depending on what all happens, that's going to be thrown to the main channel, I think. Cult of Lamb will be tomorrow. There's also going to be the Lucky Block Build Challenge Supercut out tomorrow. So there should be a fair amount of content to go around to keep you up and going until Sunday. But all in all, Thursday, Cult of Lamb. Let's start off again. Wednesday, tomorrow. There will be Cult of Lamb, the first stream we did, Supercut, second channel. Main channel will have the Lucky Block Building Challenge, Supercut. Thursday is when we're going to be streaming Cult of the Lamb again, and hopefully beating the fuck up, beating Leshy the fuck up, and actually progressing with the game. Thursday, we'll also have this stream up on the second channel. Friday, we'll have nothing, actually. That's one of the few days that's nothing really happening unless I do a stream that I'm saving Thursday. Saturday will be another stream. And Sunday will be another stream. I don't know if I'll have time. We'll figure that. I'll look ahead. I'll figure out if I have enough time. You'll know by Saturday. And there'll be the Passion SMP video. So I think, with all that's said and done, that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. This was a fantastic stream. And we had a lot of goofs and gaffs and lots of fun topics that flowed a lot. This has been an amazing stream. Thanks for all the recommendations and talking. This has been awesome. Have a good night, and thanks for the great conversation. Of course. Glad to have you around, Almond. And that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.